Trust me when I say that I know it can be intimidating when you're trying to get into a new fragrance line. Typically, fragrances will have a ton of flankers, and if you're new to those fragrances, it can be kind of hard to know where to start. So oftentimes what I like to do is create videos like this where I just go over all of the fragrances in a certain fragrance line. Now, I've done this a couple times before. I've done this with the Dior Homme fragrance line. I most recently did this with the Dior Sauvage fragrance line. Now, today we're going to be going over the entire Terre d'Hermès fragrance line. I've got all of them right here. It's kind of hard to hold them all at once, but we've got the regular Eau de Toilette, we got Eau Très Fraîche, we've got the Parfum, and we've got Eau Intense Vetiver. So we've got them all right here. This is going to be kind of like your guide, your buying guide to the Terre d'Hermès fragrances, because when you're looking to get your first Terre d'Hermès fragrance, you know, it can be kind of hard to choose between these four. Also doesn't help that these aren't the cheapest fragrances out there. I mean, these are still going to be running you around the $60, $70 price point depending on what you're getting and what bottle size and all of that stuff. So they are kind of in the upper range of designer fragrances in terms of price. So I want to do my best to help you guys out. If you're new to the fragrance line like I was not too long ago, this is going to be a pretty comprehensive buying guide on just kind of the similarities and differences of these. I'm going to go over the performance and wearability of all these fragrances, so it should be pretty helpful. Now, I also plan on doing this with the Prada L'Homme fragrances coming up here soon. So if you have interest in the Prada L'Homme line, don't really know where to start with that one either, that video is going to be coming out soon, because I know that's another one where a lot of people want to jump into, but they don't necessarily know where to start. So I'm going to cover that line as well. But I do really want to hear from you guys. What is your favorite Terre d'Hermès fragrance? Let me know down below. Do you just like the original? Do you like the Parfum? Just let me know your favorites. And of course, I do appreciate you hitting the subscribe button down below. Also, turn on post notifications and give this video a like. All of that helps the channel out tremendously, and it helps kind of show me that you appreciate these types of videos, because these take quite a bit of work to put together, and on top of that, quite a bit is money as well. I mean, between all of these here, I spent a good amount of money. And then, of course, on the Prada L'Homme line, I purchased all of those, which was quite a bit of money as well. So it is expensive to do videos like this, but I know at the end of the day, it's going to be helping you guys out. So again, all I ask at the very least is for you to subscribe and like the video. So let's go and jump right into this, and we're going to start off with the original Terre d'Hermès. We're going to just talk about the Eau de Toilette. And I do want to mention that Forever Luxe did help me out with this video. They sent me out this version here, Terre d'Hermès Eau de Toilette, just to kind of help me out here. Again, I purchased all of these other fragrances myself, but Forever Luxe did help me out here. And if you haven't shopped with them before, they're a great discount website that has really, really solid prices. They have both a website and they also sell on eBay. You've probably seen a lot of their listings on eBay if you've shopped for fragrances on eBay before, and a lot of times their eBay prices will actually beat the prices on their website. So if you want to check out anything for Forever Luxe, I will have them linked down below. You can also check out their eBay. I know I get a lot of people saying that eBay sells fakes all the time, but there are people like Forever Luxe and other discounters selling on eBay. So I mean, that doesn't mean that everyone on eBay sells fakes. So again, do want to thank Forever Luxe, and the fact that they sent this out to me has no effect on how this video goes or my thoughts on this fragrance. I mean, they don't care what I say about this, right? This isn't their fragrance, it's not their product. They don't care about any of that stuff. So let's go and jump right into this. Let's start off with the Eau de Toilette here. Now, what I like about this one is kind of the middle ground between all of these fragrances. This one is kind of in the middle in terms of its wearability. Some of the fragrances in this line are more daring, while other ones are really, really easy to wear. This one kind of falls in the middle. So if you want something that has just a little bit of an edge to it, has a little bit of a uniqueness to it, and you're okay with kind of riding the line, pushing the boundaries, wearing something that maybe not everyone will like, this one kind of has you covered. So this one is known for its bitter and earthy orange smell. I mean, that's kind of, in a nutshell, what you'll hear people say. This smells like a dirty orange. It's kind of typically what people will say, and to an extent, yes, it does. It's got a nice orange note with this earthy, woody undertone as well. You'll notice with this fragrance that it also has somewhat of a dry quality, and that dryness is coming from the woods in here. Now, that's not going to be everyone's favorite thing, so that's something you're going to want to be aware of here, but just note that it is there a little bit. It's not as prominent as in some of the other ones that we're going to talk about, but it is noticeable. You also get a nice vetiver undertone from this one as well, which you guys know I love my vetiver. Not the main player in this fragrance to my nose, but it is pretty prominent in here. Overall, in my opinion, this is a great office scent. This is a great signature fragrance for a refined man who wants to kind of stand out a little bit, right? This isn't a Dior Sauvage. This isn't any of those types of fragrances. this is something that's going to push it a little bit. Not everyone is going to be happy with the scent, and that's okay. And you'll find, as someone who is into fragrances, those are the fragrances that are most fun, or at least to me. I like fragrances that kind of push the line, and I like fragrances that I know not everyone is going to like because they're fun, they're kind of daring, they're kind of mysterious in a type of way. You never know what type of reactions you may get from it, so I think it's kind of cool. It's a lot more unique, and really overall it's just a lot more fun. So the Original is a great fragrance to go with if you want to get started into the line. So, if you're kind of unsure, this one would be a great one to go with because it's kind of going to give you a taste of what everything else is going to smell like. Longevity on this one, I get on average about 8 to 9 hours, and the projection is moderate. So it's not a skin scent, but it's not going to be a room-filling fragrance either. It pushes off kind of just right around my personal bubble area, maybe just a little bit more. It does leave a nice scent trail as well. So overall performance is great. And again, it's for the most part, pretty wearable fragrance, just with a little bit of an edge to it. Up next here, we're going to talk about the Parfum. So this is the Pure Parfum version. This either comes in a 75 ml bottle like this, or what does that say? Yeah, 75 ml like this, or you can get the 200 ml, I believe. So it's either small or big with this one. I believe it's 200, maybe it's 150. I don't know for sure, but I opted for the 75 just to save myself some cash because, to be honest with you, I'm not going to need a large bottle of this one. Now, this, like I said, the Pure Parfum version, basically what you have going on with this one is, for the most part, the same thing. You have this bitter, earthy orange, but what you get here is a lot more of a woody quality, more so than the Original, and you'll also find that the dryness that I'm talking about is amped up even more. So again, if you're someone who doesn't like that dry, woody smell in fragrances, you're going to want to avoid this one because it's kind of to the next level in this one. You'll notice that this one also doesn't have that zesty, bright citrus opening like the Original does. Now, it is still there, and the orange is still prominent, but it just doesn't have quite as much of a kick, quite as much of this like zesty pop like the Original Eau de Toilette does. And that would make sense coming from a Pure Parfum fragrance, right? They're kind of amping up the concentration and putting more focus on the woods and kind of on the peppery notes and stuff like that. So it is definitely more of a woody version of the Original. If you want something that's going to be even more daring, kind of riding the line a little bit more, something even more masculine, this is one you're going to want to go for. And this is kind of one where if you like the Original DNA but you want something darker, go for this one. Now, on the flip side, if you don't like the Original Terre d'Hermès DNA, chances are you're not going to like this one because it's basically that fragrance but on steroids. It's just amped way up, a lot more depth, a lot more darkness, and kind of takes away that zesty opening that a lot of people like. I do find that this one is also more refined overall. So I kind of almost will describe it as like Dior Sauvage EDP in a way that the Eau de Toilette's kind of loud. It's got this like really kind of peppery spiciness, pop in your face type of thing. And then the EDP of that one kind of rounds off the edges. To an extent, that's what this fragrance does. It basically takes the Original Terre d'Hermès Eau de Toilette with that nice pop and just, the woodiness that it has, and just kind of rounds it out, smooths out the edges a little bit while also adding more depth. So the longevity on this one, I've been getting around 10 to 11 hours on average. And with that, I get about low projection. So this one is going to last longer because it is a Pure Parfum, but with that comes the drawback of less projection. Or, maybe that's not a drawback for you. It just depends on how you like your fragrances to wear. So it does have a bit more strength in the longevity department where it'll get you through a longer day, but it's not going to be pushing out as much. So whereas the Original Eau de Toilette kind of got, just outside of my personal bubble just a little bit, this one kind of hangs out a little bit closer to me. And for me personally, I don't mind that. And I can say that there are some certain situations where maybe you'll want to opt with the Parfum version if you want less projection. So for, say, in a work environment, right? You typically don't want to wear fragrances that are super strong and projecting a lot in a work environment. Sometimes you want to go with something a little bit more refined. That's when you can choose this one. So it really depends on you. It depends on how you like your fragrances to wear. And of course, with this one, it also depends on how you like the Terre d'Hermès DNA. If you like the Original and you want something amped up, but if not, this one probably isn't going to be your best bet. And also, I don't think this one is necessary for everyone to own. So if you have the Original Eau de Toilette, I'm not telling you to rush out and grab this one because I don't think that would really be necessary. I think you would be just fine with the original Eau de Toilette. And I would say for most of you out there, you can skip this one and go on to the other flankers that we're going to talk about here. This one's kind of really more for the collector, more for a person who's really, really into the DNA. If you like the original Eau de Toilette and you think it's nice, but it's not your favorite, you're probably not going to like this one much more. Although I could be wrong, I just don't want you to think that this is a necessary purchase when it's really not. Now up next here, we're going to talk about Terre d'Hermès Eau Tresse Fraîche. So this basically is a lighter and more watery version of the original Eau de Toilette, right? Pretty self-explanatory, pretty simple there. That's kind of in a nutshell what you get with this one. This one does utilize that signature Terre d'Hermès orange note, but it's also throwing in some other citruses in the mix as well, and that kind of mixes with the watery note that this one has. So overall, it does smell really nice, does nod back to that original Terre d'Hermès DNA quite a bit, but just with more of a light and watery touch on it. So not bad overall, and I really like this version. I really like this flanker. It's going to be the most wearable. It's going to be the easiest to pull off, and I would say for most of you, this is a great way to kind of get your feet wet in the Terre d'Hermès line. If you don't want to fully commit to the Eau de Toilette, which is going to be kind of daring, this one, still a slight daring quality to it, I guess, but it is a lot more wearable and a lot more mass-pleasing overall. So really a nice scent here, and this is a great one for summer that really doesn't get too much talk overall. So the performance on this one overall isn't too bad. On average, I get about 6 to 7 hours. So it's going to be the worst performing one out of the bunch in terms of its longevity. But I mean, really 6 to 7 hours from a mostly citrus bright fragrance like this isn't too awful. In terms of projection, you're going to be getting on average about low to medium projection, or at least that's what I get on my skin. So it is projecting more than the Parfum, but not quite as much as the Eau de Toilette. So it kind of is in the middle there. And again, for a citrus fragrance, that's not really too bad. You can't expect too much out of these types of scents, and it does smell really nice, but that is just something to keep aware. Going to be the worst performing fragrance out of the bunch. And finally, the last fragrance we're going to be talking about today is Eau Intense Vetiver. So this one, judging by the name, you would expect is going to be vetiver based. Now, one thing that is kind of unique about this one is the fact that it takes away that signature orange note that you get from the rest of the line. So again, we're talking about that dirty, earthy orange smell that people compare it to. This doesn't have that. Instead, this one utilizes other citrus notes such as lemon, bergamot, and grapefruit. This one does also have that dry and peppery quality like you would expect, mainly from a lot of the woods that you get from this fragrance, like the vetiver and the other woody notes. Now, out of all of them, this one does differentiate the farthest away from the original DNA, at least to me, just because it does increase that vetiver note a lot, and it's also taking away that zesty, dirty orange that you get from all the other ones. Let's go and talk about the performance of this one really quick. Longevity, I get about 9 hours on average with low to medium projection, so it kind of fits in there about with all the other ones. Does better than Eau Tresse Fraîche, but not quite as good as like the Parfum in terms of longevity or the Eau de Toilette in terms of projection. So it really just kind of fits in there about average. That's 9 hours is more than enough performance and is honestly pretty solid, and the projection is solid as well. It's also important to note that this one is an Eau de Parfum concentration. I just thought I would throw that in there. You know, it is a flanker, Eau Intense Vetiver, but it's not an Eau de Toilette like the original. This one is an Eau de Parfum. So from that, you are getting slightly less projection, but overall kind of increased longevity. So guys, there you have it. That was my full thoughts and kind of review on the entire Terre d'Hermès line. Great fragrance line. It took me a while to get into it just because I never really had too much interest when I was starting out, but really been expanding kind of what I've been into lately, and I've really as a whole enjoyed these fragrances. Now of course there's also some other versions, all just kind of in a different bottle. They do a limited edition. I didn't include those in this video just because I'm pretty sure they're just the same fragrance, just rebottled, and I really just don't want to buy all of them. This is kind of the majority of what you hear talked about here in the community. It's kind of makes up the bulk of it. Eau Tresse Fraîche, that's one I'm excited to wear as well. So again, hopefully you enjoyed this video. All the links to these will be down below in the description. And again, thanks to Forever Luxe for sending me out the Eau de Toilette. It really helped me make this video at least a little bit cheaper, so I do appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We'll see you tomorrow night with another one. Take care.